So, hi everybody, welcome to episode 44 of Community Service Hour. We've got special guest Amit here. He's going to introduce himself.
Enthusiasm, we have built this service called DirtyHash, and I'm here to talk about it more. And also, okay, so my name is Amit Verma. I'm based out of Munich in Germany. I work for Google in the Google Cloud team, and I'm also a Web3 enthusiast. And out of that enthusiasm, I, together with a team, built a service called DirtyHash, and that's meant to. The intention is to protect users in the crypto and Web3 space, and I would like to introduce that service today. So this is my objective number one, and number two, I would like to hear from other speakers about what they are doing and exchange on ideas and learn more about the latest and greatest in Web3.
Yeah, this is a great topic. We've just switched to the merge. We've just changed how we're validating on Ethereum, which is a major network. And we've just recently seen the United States Treasury add some entity, a very well-known entity, to the OFAC list. Some of the validators are refusing to operate with that entity. Also, recently at NFT NYC, I was talking behind the stage with some people that run some of the larger marketplaces, and they're starting to get phone calls from OFAC. People that weren't getting phone calls before, that were running very small application-specific exchanges, are now getting phone calls. And so these phone calls are happening. How do we know which entities are affected? That's the background. So DirtyHash comes in. We're talking about dirty addresses. These are things that are really coming to light in 2022.
And compliance to the US regulations, in particular the OFAC list. I mean, it's not only the prerogative of corporations or big companies or big players in the crypto market, but also like individuals. And generally, these compliance mechanisms are available to the biggies, the likes of Coinbase probably.
You don't know until you're blocked. You don't know until your transactions fail. That's how you learn about it. And then because customer support is so great in California, they just definitely tell you what's happening and why. Also, it's like email. If you're anybody who sends a lot of email, you know that your IP address can get blocked. It's all distributed. Google can block you. Hotmail can block you. You don't know if you're blocked or why. You just hear from your customers the emails aren't going through. Then you use one of these block lists and you find that you're on it. So there's no government involvement really in block lists, but there's a lot of different things out there that you can check. And I think you line up with that system. Right.
And Will, there's one more perspective or aspect to it. Like many of these lists which are maintained, they are not refreshed on a regular basis. They could become stale very quickly. So if you look at how many times a month does the US Treasury Department release new OFAC addresses? It's very few. Probably once a month it is updated. And so I come from the cloud security world. So in the security world, we have something like 0-day vulnerabilities. Right? So similarly, there are 0-day entities. Somebody which has, who has created a phishing site in crypto or Web3 today, and it goes live right now. So what do you do about it? I mean, it's going to take some toll on some of the users probably before it's caught by somebody and then it's reported somewhere. So the purpose of DirtyHash is also to uncover, using technology like machine learning, to analyze wallet addresses in real time to find those 0-day exploits, 0-day phishing sites and 0-day wallet addresses, and to help protect people.
And also hopefully avoid libel, because you're going to be flagging people and false flag operations. We're looking at layer one of this.
Can you talk more about it? How can it go backwards?
Let's say we understand that DirtyHash is being used in production. Mm-hmm. And let's say that the FBI seizes the funds from Edward Snowden, from his book sales that were sold in cryptocurrency. And let's say somebody decides to spam transactions that would make it look like the FBI's wallet address was actually a terrorist. People figure this stuff out. There's smart people out there. And so they do these things so that the FBI can't get their own money.
Got it.
Like a new version of search engine optimization.
So a lot has been written on this topic, a lot of the issues about this, and as you go from a hobbyist project to something that's integrated in production, you have an effect on more people's lives. And, you know, if you're not right, then you're part of the problem too, for those people at least.
Right, right. So that's a risk that we run with, right? Definitely. And yeah, I mean, so there is like something called a blacklist, there's something called a whitelist, and there's also something called a gray list. So if you are sure, like, you know, if somebody has been flagged by thousands of people, then probably it's a blacklist. If somebody is like a known entity, so for example, let's say Vitaly Buterin, or let's say a crypto exchange, let's say Coinbase, then probably it could be a whitelist. And there'll be many entities that you don't know, but you can only, like, you know, give certain risk scores to them. So that's like part of the gray list. And, you know, I mean, the solution that we are trying to build, it's more like, you know, it's a recommender. So at the end of the day, the user has to use the best judgment based on all the analysis or, you know, all the insights that the tool is providing you. Machine learning algorithms could be like very black box kind of a thing. So you put something in, it's going to spit out some output and you don't know basically what was the reason. And like we leverage like something called explainable AI.
Explainable AI. I thought the definition of AI is things you can't explain. Otherwise, we just call it heuristics.
Right. So, I mean, in short, basically the objective here was to give users certain insights about a particular entity.
This is good. All right, so this is a meta about addresses. This directly ties into a topic we had a couple weeks ago about scoring. What do we call it?
Reputation.
Basically, when you are researching an address or something, you can look up scores that are attributed by certain people. So you would be publishing a score, and like you said, well, what if there's a known entity? Known by who? And also, like you said, well, what if 1,000 people agree on this? Who are those 1,000 people? I can make 1,000 people. Do I trust those people?
That's a pretty interesting aspect. I mean, this all could be set up as a decentralized autonomous organization where, like, you know, people could get what you say, like reputation tokens, and the community itself is responsible for flagging. So, for example, somebody could stake, you know, certain tokens and say, you know,
I've heard this approach many times. I don't know who's in the business of spending money to be an expert. No, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying I've heard this so many times and nobody's done it because that person, I don't think economically, game theory wise, I don't think that person exists.
The other thing is, like, you know, also insurance. So, for example, when we talk in a typical financial industry, for example, I have a bank account, and let's say if I have a credit card, if I get scammed by somebody when I have made the transaction via my bank or my credit card, I have like insurance. But in the crypto world, this is not there. So in the crypto world, if I open up my MetaMask and transfer Ether to a certain wallet, I mean, I'm taking like full risk. There's no way back. And if I come across a scammer, I mean, it's gone. It's like really gone. And one of the ideas is also using those risk scores. We provide a certain insurance for a particular transaction. So, like, you know, as part of doing that transaction, you pay, like, you know, certain basis points or certain percentage extra, and then you are insured. If something wrong happens, then you have the possibility to like revert back, or this insurance company is going to take that risk, and that insurance company could be a DAO or like another crypto entity.
So this is something you're thinking to implement?
Right.
I don't think you can do this as decentralized.
Okay, why do you say that?
Well, because then you're going to get flagged for money laundering. What you're saying is that if you do business, if you accept money from a money launderer that gets flagged by the government, that we will refund you. So effectively, you are laundering money.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, that's definitely an aspect that we need to consider and, you know, solve for that. Definitely, I absolutely agree to that. Yeah.
No, I mean, these are good topics. Obviously, you know, you and I have both been looking at these things. In general, one of my themes is that we should be using these ideas, but not using this technology. So we should be using the tools that we have, the computer power, the data, the techniques, but we should not be creating DAOs and magical things that don't work. Instead, we should be creating regulated financial services companies that provide insurance and then actually paying out fiat money to people.
Okay, so this is like a centralized approach. Okay.
Because the only business models that work, only when they're decentralized, are money laundering. That's the only one. If you can't make the same business work with real money, you're not a legitimate business. The whole point of money is to spend it, not to magically program it.
So, Will, that's a pretty provocative statement for the Web3 community. I don't have counter arguments to that, but that's an interesting point of view.
Well, you're talking to the guy who got very involved with NFTs.
Should we demo DirtyHash?
Yeah, so let's flag myself. Let's see if I'm gonna get flagged here. So I'm gonna take my address.
Background, seeing is believing. People talk about a lot of things, but like seeing is believing. All right.
All right, so here's me, and then I'm gonna paste in my own address here, and I'm gonna hit search, and this is a hot take. Risk score provided by our machine learning algorithm, exclamation point, caution. Oh, the caution, oh, geez. It says result caution. But it's cautioning me that the result might not be accurate. It's not cautioning me that this might be fraud. Whoa. All right, there's a libel suit right there. Now, risk score, 5% low risk. Search string. Well, why is it not 0? Top feature, average time between inward transactions. Number of outward transactions. ETH received, total sent, final balance. Okay, and then for fun, let's try to look up an address that has 0 transactions. What's the baseline? Unknown, 0%. So I'm more risky than a nobody. All right. So so I don't see any supporting data here yet. So I see an address. It links to Etherscan. It's got some statistics here, but it doesn't. I guess it's saying it's presenting the data, and then it's telling me that somehow magically it's turned that data into a 5% score. And then I can take another address here, and then I can report it. Sounds like this is going to be a manual. It's asking me for a name and an email. So it says report fraud, but it doesn't tell me if I'm going to be publicly attributed to this report. So that could be dangerous to me.
Yeah, so you can provide your name as optional. So if you provide your name, it will.
All right. You might want to add that, especially in Europe. Yeah, it doesn't say any of this is optional or required, and it doesn't tell you it's going to be published. So you can just batch make reports. I suppose you're capturing IP addresses for these reports that are sent?
I'm not sure, but I guess it would be logged somewhere, the IP addresses.
Right. Report, string, category. Anybody could just send reports in about addresses. Okay. It's got a company, Swedish L limited company, registered. Okay, this is good. It's got a privacy policy, which doesn't mention the company. It should. When you clicked agree or accept, we made this policy that I did not click accept. Oh, here. Okay, so this.
Company is mentioned in the third paragraph.
Okay, cool. From your device? Okay. Browser extension. Oh, I didn't see that. About domain names. Oof.
Browser extension does not exist today.
Okay.
Something that we are working on.
It sounds like it's collecting. This could be, there's a way that you can implement this without sending every DNS lookup to you. There's a way to do that. Ideally, there shouldn't be cookies. Yeah, we read the whole privacy policy live. This is how we review stuff. California.
More exciting in a live stream.
Yeah, we speed this part up. So at a minimum, this is a public place where anybody can talk any other address. People call me all the time. I just got hacked. What do I do? And one thing they could do is they could publicly assert that they were scammed by somebody. Oh, this is a wallet address, a URL, and a social and/or social media handle.
Cool. Thanks for testing it out. I thought I'm gonna show you a demo. I didn't know that you're gonna do it yourself. So that's good. That's good. That's really.
Oh, you can share it too. Is there anything else that I missed?
But Amit, do you want to show cases where it's not 5% or 0%?
I mean, we don't. I mean, 0% is something that we don't do. I mean, if it's completely in the whitelist, we show it 5% because of the probability, right? Because anybody.
Well, I mean for higher risk cases. What you showed me last time has examples of how you're trying to implement explainable AI.
Got it. So, Will, since you are there, so if you go to the FAQ part here, there you will see certain addresses, test addresses, or if you scroll down a bit,
I see them.
here we have certain addresses. So if you take, for example, the third one, Bitcoin wallet address, machine learning based detection, third one. So you can try this one now.
So this one has transactions.
So this is not there in the whitelist or in the blacklist. Here it's only ML based. And these are the top criteria which influence the decision of the ML algorithm. 10 odd criteria that we use in the Bitcoin fraud detection model.
Cool.
What kind of model is it again? Is it a neural net?
It's a decision tree based model.
A decision tree, okay.
Right.
And so have you, I guess, like qualitatively looked at the bottom of the decision tree and...
Right.
Well, I found a 0 score. Do you want to know what address has a 0 score for the risk?
Actually, this looks like an error situation here. It does not show any address on the top. That means this result is invalid.
So Will's favorite thing to do is to try to break things, so don't be offended.
I can see that.
I'm pasting in the tornado mixer address for small transactions. Let's see how that gets scored.
I can understand because Tornado Mixer, it will have a huge number of transactions.
Yep.
And the node providers that we are using currently, they are not fast enough to give us those number of transactions. So it might fail as well. So I haven't looked at this case in particular. That's a good exercise for us to see basically how is it recognizing the Tornado Cache smart contract.
How often is the data updated?
The dates continuously.
I'm looking at right here. It says pre-analyzed addresses, 700,000. Not really that many. And
It's not only addresses, it's also Twitter handles.
okay. Oh, entries, not addresses. Okay.
Right.
So what's your fire hose for social handles? Is that just user reports?
It's user reports and verified Twitter profiles, celebrity profiles. So for example, if you search Vitalik Buterin here, so he's like a celebrity, so it should show up as a celebrity. So we maintain those verified Twitter profile handles because a user, so we have a detector called based on Levenstein's algorithm, Levenstein distance. So if you type a lookalike or if you miss out O in there in Elon Musk and you try to do it, so it would handle it as an impersonation.
Got it. So we could do. Okay. Got it. Here it is.
So here you see basically, as a user, you have to be very proactive and go to this site and do your research. But many users don't do that, and that's the reason why we are also working on this browser extension. so that whatever like you do, I mean, it will be analyzed automatically and you'll be warned like before any damage is done.
This is interesting. There's no room for positive. So one of the things I don't like is it says safe. This has been reported safe or is whitelisted. Also, I don't like the word whitelisted. But who reported safe? You? DirtyHash? This is passive language, and we don't know who did it or why.
Down, so you see the source. So if you scroll a little bit,
Yeah, it just says whitelist.
So since Elon Musk is a verified Twitter profile, so that's where we are picking up this information. So that's why it says Twitter is the source.
Oh, when it says Twitter and it says detection whitelist, what it means is this is a Twitter verified account with a blue check mark.
Right.
No, I mean, I support this idea. I like that it's live. You know, I like that a lot.
And this is only a starting point. Because if you want to contribute, it's open source. And if you need any help in setting it up or something, we're happy to support as well.
Now is the decade for a tool like this to exist. But Web3 used to mean semantic web. And now somebody stole the word and just means blockchain. The type of world that used to be Web3, I think this word is going to be where you open a web page, you're going to have a browser or an extension, something like DirtyHash, where it's going to give you the reputation for some website, and it's not going to be based on some whitelist. It's going to be based on your friends and their friends. And there's going to be traceability here. Not just buying NFTs, whether they're fake or not, or sending things that might be OFAC entity money. It's going to apply to news that you read on Twitter. It's going to apply to articles that you read and content moderation in general. Because we're moderating here. We're moderating content. We're moderating addresses, reputations of people.
Right.
And I have a feeling that you're going to go further than some of the content moderation people have already done this have gone.
That's an interesting thought as well. Moderating content based on your friends and your friends of friends feedback, rather than having absolute blacklist or whitelist. And also probably, having that dynamic content analysis.
Yeah, I'm not telling you have to do all these things. I'm just saying, again, with the environment, this is a good place to be. I mean, this is something that's going to matter, especially with Section 230 going to the Supreme Court in the United States. These are major things, in fact, impacting content moderation that are going to come up this decade. They're going to have big impacts on the way the internet works, the way that moderation works.
Absolutely.
So what was your motivation?
Well, the motivation is pretty simple. I started my career in 2007 with Semantic. That was a security company. And there I was working on data loss prevention solutions. And basically, we were the first ones who brought in machine learning to tackle the DLP problem, data loss prevention problem. Now, 12 years fast forward, I come back to the security space in Google. And on the personal side, I got scammed. It was a phishing site. I mean, I could have never realized that, me working in the security space, I would be scammed by this kind of a phishing site. And then I looked at the crypto world, and there were reports and, left and right, scams happening in the NFT space and the DeFi space. And so it's a very established industry, frauds and scams and these things keep often. And since I was interested in the Web3 space, I thought what could be a low-hanging thing that we could work on. So the first idea I had was basically when I got scammed, I transferred some money to a particular bank account. But since that was a regulated space, I transferred money from a bank to another bank. I got that refund. But then I got in the crypto space, there is not a possibility. So that was the motivation, and with that, I, together with some other colleagues, we started digging as to how we could solve this problem. So blacklist, whitelist was a very simple thing to do, very low-hanging fruit to do. But the problem with crypto is the addresses keep on changing very frequently. Of course, they also persist, but they also keep changing. So we needed a way to do zero-day hunting or zero-day identification of attacks, and that's when we started working on these machine learning models. And so gradually, that's the story basically. Nothing fancy about it. Faced a problem and got excited to solve that problem.
How long have you been at it?
Working on this. So working on this like since the last 3 months.
Cool.
It was not only me, so we also contracted like an external company to do the job, and then me together with 4 of other friends, we worked particularly on the ML part, and then recently we have also open sourced the code. Like if anybody wants to contribute and take it further, that's also possible.
Well, maybe one thing that's worth sharing, Amit, is what's open source now, and what are your plans for using open source? Like, are you going to open source everything, including the algorithm and how it works?
Yes. Yes. There are like 3 or 4 parts to the complete service right now. We have created a database, so that's in a cloud. It's in Google Cloud, and there's like server-side logic. There are machine learning components. So not all the components are open source so far. Like, but we are on it. Like, we want to open source everything, including the machine learning models. So actually, I would say for machine learning models, the secret sauce is not in the model itself. So once you have the data and when you have put the data in the right form, I mean, the machine learning model will only probably run throughout the night and it will spit out an algorithm. So the data, generating that data set is the secret sauce. And that is something we are open, that is something that we'll open source as well. So right now, the data is in a particular database format, so we'll have to export it. We have to see basically how we open source that.
So for dumb people that don't understand that you can make money while giving everything away?
I mean, we don't have like a strong intention to make money right now. So right now, it's basically the founders who share the common vision. But like one of the ways of making money that we could think of possibly is like, having some kind of a DAO and with some kind of a token. I mean, this is something that, but if you have better ideas, I'm more than ears to listen to that. But like this could be one potential thing that we could explore with.
037.
So I have a question for DirtyHash. So in like platforms like Uniswap, they have this block list for banned entities, and I was wondering if DirtyHash collects this kind of information from feeds that where the Treasury Department goes, hey, this entity sucks, don't interact with them. It'd be cool if I don't know if it already does this, but it'd be cool if DirtyHash also looks at those types of feeds and also shows maybe a different type of warning that tells you, oh, this was also found like here. This hash was also found like this repository that's maintained by the Treasury Department. Like maybe you don't want to interact with it or something like that.
The feed from the US Treasury Department, the OFAC sanction list, this is something that we already implement right now.
Okay, cool. That's essentially the question. If it does pull from that feed. Cool.
Okay, yes, we do that. So if you go to the FAQ part and then there's an example of an address which is present in the OFAC list as well.
But I think it's an interesting point about maybe there are other lists from exchanges that are not at the level of getting sanctioned, but OpenSea knows that it's a scam wallet or has been used in obvious scams. And maybe there's a way to partner with those organizations and for that data. But I guess in some ways it's also helpful for them if more people know about these addresses that they've flagged.
Right. That's an important aspect actually. And like we are looking out for such feeds. There's also something called a Bitcoin abuse DB, which is specifically for Bitcoin addresses. So this is something that we subscribe to. There's also something called a crypto scam DB, which is for Ethereum-based addresses. So this is something that we implement as well. We are trying to run some internet scrapers as well. So for example, that could scrape something from, for example, etherscan.io, Bitcoin Talk forum as well. So these kind of things. So there are 5 or 6 feeds that are running right now on a regular basis, and we are trying to implement more and more such kind of feeds. And on top of that, there are users reporting those addresses, so that's another source. And then we have the crawling techniques. So like if one thing is dirty, how can you map it out and follow the transaction chains and those addresses would also be dirty. That's the third. And that's like a big chunk right now. And then there would be things based on machine learning. So which we'll do on the fly, and that would be more like a recommendation kind of In most of the cases, we try to put the source from where this originated. So for example, if it's the sanction list, then you will see basically the source or the analyzed by field would come up as US Treasury. If it's Bitcoin abuse DB or any other, you will see the source as that particular thing. If it's user reported, then you will see basically who reported, if somebody has provided their name, and the exact comment why they said this is fake or fraud or malicious. But this is far from perfect, and I think this session also so far helped me quite a lot. Particularly, you are trying to break it apart with thing to. I collected some useful feedback here. Thank you.
What other business models are you considering?
Yeah, thank you. So right now, nothing. So, as I said, like we haven't thought of any business models right now. So right now we are trying to solve a particular problem. And we believe if you are trying to solve a relevant problem, business models are secondary. They can come later. So right now it's more about finding if this is a relevant problem to solve and if we have the right technology and approach to solve that problem. So that's our main focus right now. We'll see how we can monetize, if we want to monetize at a later point in time.
I don't know. I feel like you should launch DirtyHash tokens right now, really big. I'm sure it'll work out.
Okay.
I'll lay you an idea too. I think you can implement an email sign up and you can say, we'll notify you if you've done anything questionable, even after the fact. So maybe you make a transaction today, but the other party isn't known to be unreliable until tomorrow.
Okay, that's a cool one. That's it.
All you have to do is give us your email address and then tell us which addresses you care about. And if anything questionable happens anywhere near them, you'll be notified.
I think that's a great idea.
Cool.
It could be subscribing, not even just negative stuff. Eventually, if there's positive stuff, it could be like your newsletter of trust for addresses that you're interested in.
Yeah, long term, I'd like to see at the end of the week, here are the 5 companies you just did business with. Please leave a review for this NFT drop, this website, this Twitter profile, this source of news about climate change. All these things I think are going to be connected.
Amit, how should we follow you and DirtyHash? And how should people reach out if they're interested?
So we have a Discord server, so you can join that for the latest and greatest.
And DirtyHash does not have an official Twitter account, right?
No, not so far.
But if it did, it would be 100% trustworthy.